So Tim Cook has finally decided to release two new iPads.
And just look how happy he is.
The iPad 10th generation and the iPad Pro, and we also have a Magic Keyboard Folio. We're going to get into that in this video and take a look at which iPad is right for you. So the first thing you'll notice on the new 10th generation iPad is the very big design change. Also, the very big price change. In terms of the price, it's $449 compared to $329 last year, which is a bit of a price hike, about $120-ish, which is pretty steep. They have redesigned the body of the iPad, so now there's no home button. It's using USB Type-C, sharper edges. It looks very similar to the iPad Air, which we'll get to a little bit later, just comparing to that. It's available in pink, blue, yellow, and white, and is also compatible with the Magic Keyboard Folio. Unfortunately, it is not compatible with the Magic Keyboard. This is 10.9 inches of liquid retina display, as they call it, and it has like 329 ppi, which is not the most pixel dense thing I've seen, but pretty comparable. It's also 500 nits of brightness, which is it's pretty comparable. It's not the top of the line, but it's very, very bright for a tablet. Then we're also going to take a look at something here. This looks like an imposter. A little sus here, huh? Well, basically, unfortunately, Apple has decided not to support the second generation Apple Pencil with the iPad. They decided to the new iPad. So now you can only use the first generation, which is really, really upsetting because this is using USB Type-C, and that means that you have to use a dongle to connect the Apple Pencil to the iPad. A USB Type-C dongle to USB to Lightning to plug into your Apple Pencil, which is kind of ridiculous. Dongle life with Apple here. It also comes with an A14 Bionic chip, which is an increase or a better improvement from like the A13. Now you can draw on with 4K video. It also has a 12 megapixel wide back camera, and also 12 megapixel ultra wide camera in the front with center stage. Um, so yeah, and they finally decided to make it landscape. Unfortunately, they decided not to do that with the Pro, which doesn't make very much sense. Um, yeah, because Pro users are the ones who are paying the most. So I don't really understand that move. But again, this comes with 64 gigabytes of storage or 256, which is really annoying because 128 is like the perfect sweet spot, and I'm pretty sure the reason they removed 128 as an option is because it is such a good sweet spot. So the people who can't do 64 gigs are going to be forced to buy 256, which is really annoying because this is supposed to be an entry-level iPad. Now, the problem with the iPad is that look at the iPad 4th generation. It is $469, refurbished, of course. So it is $20 more. And what are you getting here? You're getting Apple Pencil support, like the second generation Apple Pencil support. And like, yeah, I think that's a benefit in and of itself. And like everything is so similar. I mean, like it's ridiculous. And you also get support for the Magic Keyboard. Again, there are some benefits to the Magic Keyboard Folio, but personally, I like the Magic Keyboard better, so I would go for the Air. And yeah, I mean, look at the Magic Keyboard Folio. You get like the function row, but other than that, it's a two-piece. Just being a two-piece makes it less convenient than having an all-in-one. And it's also just like generally higher end. Um, yeah, and I believe it's a bigger screen, so I don't know. I feel like yeah, if it's just better. Or it's not a bigger screen. It's so similar. Like they kind of copied and pasted the iPad Air to the iPad 10. So like the only real difference is that they moved the camera, right? Between the two, which is really frustrating because like they didn't really innovate on any area. Like this is $20 cheaper um, on the Apple for the regular iPad 10. So I don't know. I would personally go for the Air, but if you want the Folio, go for the iPad, the regular one. But yeah, I don't know. Like it really seems like they're becoming extremely lazy, Apple, because they're just copying and pasting stuff. Yeah, like even the storage options are the same. Every single thing is essentially the same. It's frustrating. Okay, so now if we go here, we're gonna go pop on to the iPad Pro page. Let's go to iPad Pro, and it is supercharged with the M2. Now, of course, I agree with this statement. It is supercharged, meaning that it's way too overpowered for an iPad to handle. It is an M2 processor, aka a desktop processor, or mobile desktop processor, like a laptop processor, on an iPad. And this wouldn't be such a problem if iPads weren't running iPad OS. Like iPad OS holds this back. It cannot utilize an M2 chip to its max potential. You, as the end user, will not see a difference between the M1 versus the M2, or even the M2 versus an A14, because it's not much of a difference. Like if this was running Mac OS or Windows, I don't know why it'd be running Windows, but if it was, then you could finally, it would make sense to get an M2 chip. But there is nothing that is really, there's nothing that compels you. There's no, there's no apps that really push iPad's M2 chip or M1 chip to actually perform well. And the annoying thing here is that the camera is still on the side. Like, why would they put that there? They should have just put it in the middle, and they decided not to on for their highest paying customers. Like, there is no reason why they had to do that. Um, and I believe personally it's just due to the parts, right? Um, like they can just easily reuse their iPad Pro parts so that I'm pretty sure they have more in stock. That's the reason they did this, right? They just popped in a new chip and called it a day. Because the only other feature is that now you can use like hovering abilities with your Apple Pencil 2, which doesn't like it's not a difference. There's no difference. Like it's not like a hardware difference. So you can do that on other iPads. They're gonna probably add it on software. Like they're gonna add this feature over software. Like I don't know. It's just there's no point in buying the iPad Pro at this point. Um, yeah, there really isn't. Unless you really need that software update, there is no other point. Um, okay, now let's go to the iPad Pro certified refurbished page. Now, you could literally go for an iPad 11 inch. So let's go to order now, and we'll go order an 11 inch with, so we'll just whatever, pick space gray, and let's pick 256 gigs. Now, if we go here, we go to iPad Pro 11, 11 inches, so cancel the air. Yeah, you can get basically the exact same experience for way cheaper. Like you can get a refurbished iPad 11 inch. You'll change the storage to 256 to be fair, and for 619 versus um 899. Like that's a huge difference. It's a almost a $300 difference. Like why would you pay that money if you're getting the same exact experience, like the same experience? You get an A12Z Bionic chip or whatever. But realistically, right? Like this is 2 years old. It's not. There's no difference in terms of the day-to-day experience. The only real difference that you'd notice again is just software. It's just software updates. It has nothing to do with hardware. So yeah, like there is no real point in buying the iPad Pro. Um, just stick to last year's model or 2 years, a 2-year-old model, or even go for a 3 or 4-year-old model. Like honestly, unless you really, really need, actually maybe not a 4-year-old model, that then you won't get very much updates, but maybe a I think 3-year-old model is like the oldest I would personally recommend. But the sweet spot is like 2 years ago. Like it doesn't make any sense as to why you would go buy a new iPad Pro with an M2 chip. There's no point. There really isn't any point. So yeah, and also the fact that iPad OS has like such incremental updates. There's no real like penalty like using an older software, an older iPad OS, because iPad OS is just it's there's no real updates there, and they're not going to put Mac OS on iPad. So, you know, I'd recommend just buying an iPad Air, staying safe. Okay. Thanks for watching.